Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles DeBanson, and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamers Pro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and we'll give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. So let's get into today's topic here. So as you guys know, we are in the midst of another decision, so to speak, for LeBron James, and we're seeing the effects of it. LeBron has done this before, but the major decision that he did in 2000 in NBA, in 2010, I don't know why I said NBA, I'm looking at something here. I said in 2010, that one really put the NBA on a course where it never really recovered. And the funniest thing is, even his own former teammates said this, like Iman Shumpert and others. They said that move destroyed the NBA. Jeff Teague has said as much, and so many other people. But given the fact that Victor Wembanyama decided to turn down an extra $51 million, a lot of people were talking about, does that set a bad precedent for the league and all of that? But Ric Bucher on his show today, he was really addressing why we got here, how we got to this point where now stars are having to take less money to be competitive. And he then went all the way back to the 2010 decision from LeBron James and essentially said that it's going to cost future NBA players hundreds of millions of dollars. That era of player empowerment, they assured that the owners will come back for the league, and now the current generations are the ones that are going to be paying for it. But for those of you, but before we get into that, today's video is brought to you by our sponsor, Kachava. Now, before we continue, let me tell you something. This year, I got serious about taking care of my body, my training, my nutrition, all of it. Nothing extreme. I just wanted to take better care of myself. But my days get busy between work, moving around, taking care of my daughter, trying to go to the gym, buying groceries. Life fills up fast. And when it does, nutrition is the first thing to fall apart. I would skip meals, grab whatever was easy, and feel it by the afternoon. Then I started using Kachava's new travel pack. Just one packet gives you complete nutrition ready for life to go on. Plant-based protein, fiber, greens, vitamins, probiotics, omegas, electrolytes, and more. No artificial flavors, no sweeteners, no soy, no gluten, no preservatives, and no animal products. All the nutrition my body craves in one delicious shake, packed to go. It keeps my energy steady all day, and more importantly, it actually tastes amazing. If you have been meaning to take better care of yourself, this is the easiest place to start. Take your daily ritual with you. Go to Kachava.com and use code DREAMERS for 15% off your first order. That's Kachava, Kachava.com, code DREAMERS. And here's one more thing. If you decide to try it, send us your receipt to DreamersProOfficial@gmail.com, and we will give you 2 months free in the Dreamers Pro community we are building. Or we could give you 50% off on your future merchandise when we launch it. All right, perfect. So what we want to do now is I want you guys to take a listen to what Ric Bucher had to say here, and I'm going to come back and continue on.
The problem is that the previous generation of stars that got involved in collective bargaining agreement negotiations agreed to a model that practically guarantees a massive chunk of the allotted player payroll to them. On the face of it, there's nothing wrong with that. Stars like Chris Paul and Carmelo Anthony, along with Steph and LeBron, are or were the primary revenue drivers for their teams. But it meant those players getting paid at the expense of every other player on their team. The owners were all too happy to pay the stars a huge chunk and used that as the excuse to depress what they were paying everyone else. It was perfectly reasonable for the media to commend the stars for actively participating in the union and making their presence felt in negotiations. There was a time when being a team's union rep was thrust upon a rookie or end of the bencher, almost as a form of hazing. Bottom line, it wasn't a job most players aspired to have. Chris and LeBron and the rest gave the role importance. They shifted the view of it from a burden or an inconvenience to a responsibility or an honor. It was a seat at the cool kids table if you weren't one of the cool kids already. I don't know what the intentions of those stars were when they decided to lead negotiations with Adam Silver and the owners. Maybe they came in with the best of intentions, hoping to utilize their considerable influence and star power to hammer out a favorable deal for the entire NBA body of players. Maybe they didn't anticipate or foresee how granting players like themselves a 25 to 35% slice of however big the player payroll was every year would squeeze everyone else. Maybe they thought the negotiating of a mid-level exception would protect the middle class, not realizing that mid-level players wouldn't have the leverage to force teams to use the full mid-level allowance on a single contract. In any case, the deal they agreed to included a lot of items that served them, the stars. Chris Paul, LeBron, Carmelo, and Steph were all into their 30s when the 2017 CBA was signed, an agreement that extended the age for long-term contracts from 36 to 38 and increased the annual increase on bird rights contracts, used most often to retain stars, from 7.5% to 8%. Two-way contracts were also introduced, providing another means of cheap labor to owners and management, allowing space for each team to sign 2 max contracts and still fill out a roster. Considering that the league supposedly has legions of lawyers working for it, I've heard as many as 800, I can't help but wonder if the league negotiated that contract with the one signed in 2023 already in mind. I don't know, but I suspect that the last 2 deals were a response to 2010 when player empowerment went through the roof. Because the stars banded together that summer and were organized thanks to a few top-level agents. The owners were in the unique and undoubtedly uncomfortable position of not setting the rules of engagement or having their priorities served, but instead dancing to the tune being sung by the players. The rich and powerful have no appetite for that. The latest agreement, combined with the one in 2017, puts financial control firmly back in the hands of teams and their owners. Now, the stars are forced to make a choice. Take all you can get and undermine your chances of winning a ring, or take less and trust that management can use the extra funds wisely. Either way, the owners win, because the priority for the vast majority is to maintain a healthy profit margin, not win a championship. The last 2 CBAs combined have created as close to a hard cap as you could have without definitively calling it a hard cap, which allows teams to artificially suppress salaries. And the last generation of superstars, wittingly or unwittingly, contributed a healthy amount of mortar to build it.
Fantastic. So you heard what he had to say. Look, the proof is in the pudding. This isn't really something, this is not really an opinionated kind of thing. The proof is in the pudding, right? Number one. Number two, I think that players like Victor don't care about those narratives that existed in the past. In the past, it was very narrative driven. Now, still, it's very early in his career. He just finished his 3rd year. Who knows? Maybe in the future, he'll become like a LeBron or one of these other guys that wants to craft a narrative and feels like, oh, I need to catch Michael Jordan and therefore I need to form super teams and all of that. But based off of what we see right now, that doesn't seem to be the case. Looking at Victor, it seems like, number one, he just wants to play. It seems like he wants to be a Spur. He doesn't really care about this thing about small market, large market. I think that's because he's from Paris and he knows at the end of the season he can hop on a plane and go back to France. So, I mean, that may be the reason why he doesn't long for this big city feeling. He probably grew up there his whole life, so maybe that's the thing. But of course, it's going to cost players. Look, the player empowerment movement ruined the NBA for the fans. It all became about me, to the point where stars didn't even care about putting forth a good product like what we would see at All-Star weekends. It was so bad that even former President Barack Obama told Tyrese Halliburton, if you guys don't care about this product, why should we? Like, that's how bad it had gotten. And the players saw nothing wrong with this. I will still go back to it. You remember a few years when they said Larry Bird and Dr. J tried to speak to the players in the locker room to get them to go out there and put forth some effort? Do you remember the reports that LeBron was the one that gave the entire locker room a side eye and they went out there and laid an egg? If you look at Wemby, he's the antithesis of LeBron James. The antithesis. And that's what Rick is. That move cost these guys serious money. It did. And it was stuff like this that Stephen A. Smith was saying, the owners may hold it against him when it's time to let him become an owner. That's when we started hearing about having this league in Europe that would compete. You remember all of this. Y'all remember all of it, right? And maybe this thing about free agency and making a decision It's kind of LeBron's way to flex his muscle that, I'm still the man. I'm still the man. He's still the man. No, don't get it twisted. In terms of popularity, LeBron James is still the man. We all talking about. Don't get it twisted. I never said he wasn't the man when it came to popularity, and I never said that. I just said he wasn't better than Kobe or Jordan. That's all I said. I'm not taking that away from him, but I do believe that Ric Bucher is making some pretty strong points here. So you guys let me know what you think about it, and we catch you on the next show. Peace.